Hello, health coaches. I'm here with you. I've got a really cool Q&A episode today. One series of Qs that came in about refining your niche once you've established it. So I'm really excited to dive into that one with you. But I just wanted to start with a little bit of a news update. Who out there loves tracking macros? I know you're out there. You love tracking macros. You love asking your clients to track macros. You feel that that data is crucial for them to understand and for you to understand. Listen, I absolutely hate tracking macros and I will never do it again. And I don't ask my clients to do it. That's not part of my brand promise. That's not part of my message. But you know what I love? I love that you're out there, health coaches encouraging clients to understand their macros, right? Their macronutrition, their protein, their fat, their carbohydrates, the quality of their food, how much of what they're getting and why and when. And I can see the value in that data, even though I myself and my clients, we've fatigued out of it. We don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, but you maybe do. Hi, I'm Erin Power. I'm a health coach, a health coaching educator and mentor, and your host of Health Coach Radio. This podcast delves into the art, science, and business of health coaching. Whether you're aspiring to land a coaching dream job or to embark on your own entrepreneurial adventure, we cover it all. Our mission is to help you grow your career, elevate your income, change the lives of the clients who need your help, and leave a lasting mark in this rapidly growing field. It's time for health coaches to make an impact. It's time for Health Coach Radio. Now, something came across my desk, a little news piece that actually kind of perked up my ears with respect to macro tracking. The Macro AI app, have you heard of this one? It has a diet score feature. So this is an article that came across my desk. It says a new AI-powered fitness app that simplifies nutrition and fitness tracking has hit the market. Macro AI, which offers a personalized diet score and macro targets so users can see how their meal choices impact their dietary goals. So this is a very robust AI-driven fitness and nutrition app. And I drove myself over to the website to take a look at it. And it looks really interesting. It has, so you go to macroai.ai, macroai.ai. Okay, a lot of vowels in there. But it's pretty neat. It's got this diet score function. So first of all, you select the type of diet you're following. Now this, I think, is pretty neat. Are you following vegetarian? Are you ketogenic? Are you Mediterranean? I don't know what the other options are. But for example, are you following a certain type of diet? Then as you start logging your meals, and by the way, apparently it has a voice logging function where you just speak into the phone and it, voice recognition. You don't have to be typing. You can log a whole meal, I guess, through the voice recognition. It's a lot easier. So the sort of physical logistical barrier to entering your macros is reduced. But as you start logging your meals, the AI is kind of evaluating and pivoting and adjusting and tweaking and deciphering and making sort of real-time decisions and adjustments based on the totality of how you're eating, the pattern of eating, right? So here's, just to stop for a second, why I personally beef with macro tracking is that I actually think in some ways it can, this is just my opinion, I know a lot of people are going to disagree, but in some ways I feel like it can prevent people from connecting the dots on the bigger picture of nutrition and health and how it all factors in because we're just focusing on the macro or the meal or the food, right? That's why I'm a little salty about it. This is neat because the AI is going to be doing kind of the spinning of wheels, right? Just figuring it out, looking at the big picture on the behalf of the user. So as you're going, the AI is assigning a score indicating how well it aligns with your diet's guidelines. And then that score is a feedback measure, right? So we get feedback. We can see where we have room to improve, the user does, right? So I just really actually think this is a pretty cool way for health coaches to use macro tracking in their health coaching business because ultimately we all have a different sort of nutritional purview, whether it's a type of diet or maybe a macro breakdown that you like. I mean, I think about, I know a lot of coaches who are in the ketogenic space. probably know just as many coaches who are in the bodybuilding and competition prep space. Very different, right? I mean, completely different approaches to macronutrients, which is kind of funny when you think about it. We're all humans ultimately, but the dietary approach is really what differs. So if you have a personal nutritional point of view, as I think most of us do, you can use this app in alignment with your own nutritional purview and keep your clients on task to follow the parameters of that diet. So very interesting. I don't know about you, but I feel a certain kind of way about AI. Is it going to take over coaching jobs? I get asked that question a lot, actually. It's probably one of the most commonly asked questions I get asked on this podcast is AI going to take our job from us? I don't know, but AI is here to stay, so can we learn to peacefully coexist with it? Part of me believes that humans will always want humans. I think about the meaningful conversations I have with my clients. I think only a person can really do that. I think. I don't know, I guess. We'll see. But, this isn't going to get in our way anytime soon. So why don't we learn to coexist with it? So anyway, the Macro AI app is just another really cool way of using AI that you can leverage it in your business, right? You can leverage it. You can language this in your business to say you have a revolutionary, machine learning macro tracking system, and think about how cool that would sound. And you can just leverage this technology that's already out there. Why wouldn't you? So anyway, that was neat. I get a lot of interesting health, nutrition, wellness topics that come across my desk because I'm a consumer of this content just as you are. I mean, you're here consuming this content, so you're a health consumer just like we all are. And maybe the health coaches among us are kind of the biggest health consumers going. We want to know what's going on in the industry. And it's just a really cool time. I mean, to see how technology and science have evolved to try to support humans to some version of health. And we can still look around and see that humans still need a lot of help. Like, it's not really going well. So far, technology and science and research hasn't advanced us into health. We're still far shy of health, and I'm talking population health. So for this reason, I don't think there's any danger of health coaches going away or the industry drying up. So why don't we, I love this idea of peaceful coexistence with the robots, Maybe I'm just saying that so the robots will hear me and know that I'm an ally. Anyhow, that was my little news story of the day. I love sharing those, but I want to get into this question that was submitted to me from a coach named Sherry. She said the following question. She says, Erin, you've recently pivoted your niche slightly toward perimenopause and menopause women because that's the phase of life you're in. 3 questions. Number 1, do you anticipate you'll move into post-menopause messaging as that becomes your next phase of life? Number 2, have you noticed fewer folks are signing up to work with you because you've gotten so specific with your niche? As in, are you missing some male clients or people who maybe aren't quite yet in the menopause transition or who aren't in that phase of life? Am I missing anyone by focusing my messaging this way? And number 3, do you think most coaches should be nimble and adjust their niche as their life phases change? So, really cool question. And Sherry is somebody who knows me as a health coach, and so is asking me specific questions about what she's seen me do. And I don't want to make this answer about me. I want to make it about you. So I'm going to turn the tables and talk about these things generally. So I'll try to use my experience of sort of call it niche pivoting to maybe shed some light on this for you all, wherever you are. Now, a lot of times on this podcast, I do speak to the newer health coach, and that's only because health coaching is kind of new, relatively speaking. So I guess I get the sense that a lot of people are kind of moving into this thing for the first time and they're new to it. So I do try to tailor the content toward people who are tiptoeing into the health coaching space because I want you here and we need you here. But, I want to validate that there's a lot of people who've been at it for a long time, right? I've been at it for about 12 years. And for, in terms of health coaching, I've been in the fitness industry for 30 years. But like when I really pivoted into health coaching, that was about 12 years ago. And I would say that's probably when health coaching started to emerge in its current iteration. So maybe you're out there listening and you've been at it as long as I have, right? Or maybe you've been at it 5 or 6 years. Maybe you're not brand new. Maybe you've been at it for a while. Like Sherry's been at it for a while, the submitter of this question. She's not brand new. But I always think about the breadth of the audience listening to this. So you might be brand new, you might be mid new, you might be old, whatever, or anywhere in between. The concept of pivoting your niche is good to just talk about, because if you're new, for example, a lot of times new health coaches put a lot of pressure on themselves to find their niche and like just nail it perfectly. It's a lot of pressure to get that right when you're first thing out of the gate is to nail your niche. You hear every business coach say that. And it's a lot of pressure. Like, what if I get it wrong? Well, the thing is, you are going to change your niche. You're going to change your expertise. You're going to change how and who you help. That is literally and objectively going to change, maybe multiple times. So don't worry. You don't have to nail it right out the gate. So this brings me to somebody like myself who's got an established business, right? So when I started 12 years ago, I was in my mid-30s, and mid-30s women were my ideal client because I knew it like the back of my hand. I'm living this mid-30s experience. My mid-30s experience was becoming very tired and fat and sick because I was becoming very metabolically dysregulated and pre-diabetic. That's my thing, right? But the sort of message was, you're young, you're in your mid-30s, you're just getting started in life and family and relationships and career, and now this, and you just don't feel like yourself. And I could really speak that language because it was me. Well, now I'm in my late 40s. So it's all real different. I am going through the menopause transition. Yay. It did seem to me like on some level I should deliberately move into the menopause space because I'm now here. So I did. I started just slightly tweaking my message, like, hey, I'm 48. Here's what's going on with me. Here's what life feels like. Here's what we're learning about this transition, because right now, 2024 is a really cool time. Well, cool maybe isn't the right word, but it's an interesting time to be going through this change of life because we're learning a lot about it for the first time ever, which is wild. Like, my mom knew nothing about what she was going through when she went through it. And in her late 40s, she just had to knuckle through it, and she didn't do so well between you and me. So yay, we're actually talking about it, and it can become a specialty. You can help women understand menopause. Now, if you're a health coach, you're not helping women balance hormones through hormone therapy. We don't have access to medications as health coaches. We don't have access to diagnoses or testing as health coaches. That's in the purview of doctors. But you can sure help your client advocate for themselves with the doctor. So anyway, by the way, I don't want this conversation to be about menopause. If you're listening to this and you're a male health coach, or you work with males, or you work with young people, or you work with old people, or pregnant people, or whatever you work with, I'm going to make this applicable to you no matter who you are and who you work with. Probably just using the perimenopause, my niche pivot, as the proxy for describing niche pivots in general. Okay, if that's cool with you. So Sherry noticed that I had changed my messaging to talk to the perimenopausal women, and I was using the phrase perimenopause. You're in perimenopause. Here's what you're experiencing. Here's what sucks about it. Here's what's different about it. Here's what I didn't expect was going to happen. And oh, look at this. This is crazy. And then I started getting women in my call calendar, booking discovery calls with me, who were like, yeah, I'm going through perimenopause and it sucks. And I put on 20 pounds overnight because I do weight loss. Like, weight loss is ultimately my expertise for women in midlife. What I found was, and I did this, by the way, I ran this for a year. I ran this as an unofficial experiment for a year. I'm still a health coach who helps women lose weight in midlife, but now midlife just happens to be in the perimenopause transition. So I ran this kind of for a year where I was focusing on the perimenopausal woman, and I didn't like it. So just to, I guess, spoil the surprise. Yes, I pivoted into perimenopause, and then I turned tail and pivoted right back out of it because I didn't enjoy it. Ta-da! You can pivot that quickly. Once you have an established protocol and a methodology that works to solve a problem, you can apply that methodology to different populations. Like, my methodology would work for men. I could pivot into men. I could start working with men who have beer bellies or something. Or the dad bod thing, right? Or, men. I think about men in their 50s who are like, they're in executive level now at their job, and they want to show up with all their, feeling physically and mentally confident in themselves. Like I could apply my methodology to just about any niche and it would probably work. So I just applied it to the perimenopause universe to see if I liked it, working with those types of people. And I didn't. And I'll tell you why real quick. It's just because the pain isn't the kind of pain I want to work with. And when I say pain, what I mean is when somebody get on the phone, when they track you down to work with you, there has to be some element of pain. I'm sorry to use that word if it sounds crazy, but hear me out. There has to be an element of like, this is a rock bottom for me and I need help getting out of it. And by the way, rock bottom is a very personal experience. My rock bottom was my brain doesn't work and I'm falling asleep at my desk. That's when I was pre-diabetic. That was my rock bottom. I didn't really care that my abdominal circumference had also increased 10 inches. I was just real tired. So rock bottom is very individual, but there has to be enough pain that the person will want to do the work you're going to ask them to do. And there was a mismatch. The perimenopause audience, their type of pain did not correlate to the type of solution I have. By that, I mean, I have a weight loss solution, but it's for women who've been battling their weight for a really, really, really long time, and they're kind of sick of battling it for decades. The perimenopausal women, the ones that were talking to me on the phone, had only just gained weight in the last 6 months. That's one of the weird biological marvels of the menopause transition is the crazy metabolic changes that can happen. Some women don't have this effect at all, and some women literally wake up in the morning and they don't recognize themselves in the mirror, and it's crazy. So, but because these women had only just had this struggle with their weight, the pain wasn't aligned to the type of problem I solve. I solve persistent, stubborn, decades of battling your body. Not this just happened 5 minutes ago. So they were too impatient for my program. Yeah, like my program's not going to work for them because you got to be patient. And this perimenopausal woman, just generally speaking, was impatient. So all that means if you out there listening have like this miraculous fast weight loss program, maybe it involves tracking macros, then some of these perimenopausal women are going to want to work with you because they're hurting for an urgent solution to weight gain that just happened suddenly. That's not who I want to work with. So anyway, spoil the surprise. I pivoted in and then pivoted out of perimenopause in the same calendar year. I'm out. Okay, but I want to go back to Sherry's questions to answer them so you all can learn from these answers. Health Coach Radio listeners, have I got a treat for you. To get 72-hour free trial access to Primal Health Coach Institute and a 50% off coupon code to the How to Become a Health Coach virtual summit featuring video interviews with over 30 industry experts, visit primalhealthcoach.com/HCR today. So she says, do you anticipate you'll move into post-menopause messaging as that becomes your phase of life? So let's imagine now I'm in my 50s and I'm now through the menopause transition. I hope so anyway. Goodness. And am I going to now work with women who are through that transition? Well, just because of my experiment that I ran working with perimenopausal women, I think I'm actually going to just back out of menopause entirely. Like, hey, you're a woman struggling with weight. I got you. You're a woman. It doesn't matter to me what reproductive phase of life you're in. You're a woman. If you're going through the menopause transition, I've gone through it, so I understand what it's like. I can help you advocate for yourself with the doctor and get some great hormone therapy, but I'm here to support you through weight loss. Let's go. I actually believe my methodology, as I said before, it's plug and play. It works for the mid-30s woman. It works for the perimenopausal woman. If she's patient enough, it works for the postmenopausal woman. It works. I believe it works. And I think that I will simply have to pivot into postmenopausal, post-reproductive women in their 50s, women in their 60s, when I'm a woman in my 50s and 60s. I think I will, because it just makes sense. Not because biology changes that dramatically, but because psychology, psychographics change. A woman in her mid-30s is doing very different things in her life than a woman in her mid-50s. Very different stage of life. But you know what? You don't have to. I mean, you could stay in the same niche. I could still be working with women in their mid-30s and it would work. I could have stayed there and just hunkered down there forever. There's nothing wrong with that. For me, it just feels comfortable to kind of roll with my peers. I kind of actually like being in coaching relationships with my peers. I don't think that's everybody's thing. I know male nutritionists and health coaches who work with women on weight loss, on menopause stuff. I know tiny little female nutritionists who work with power lifter men clients. Like, you can have a specialty that is outside of you. That's the other thing. This actually literally conversation might not even be pertinent to you if you're working with a population that is the complete opposite of who you are. There's no reason. You don't have to be working with people like you. So I don't have to move into postmenopause when I become postmenopausal, but I might, because for me as an individual, I like the idea of working with peers because I feel like I get them on a psycho-emotional level or psychosocial level. There's a lot of nuance to this answer, right? So do we have to pivot and move into new niches when we ourselves change niche, quote unquote? You don't have to. You don't have to at all. Because either you feel very comfortable in the niche you've carved for yourself and you're going to just stay there forever, which is an option. Or you're like me, I feel more comfortable moving with my clients and aging with them. That feels more comfortable for me. You could be anywhere on that spectrum. So the second question was, have you noticed fewer folks are signing up to work with you because you've gotten more specific with your niche? So when I moved into the perimenopause niche, did I lose business? Well, I lost business because I didn't want to work with them. So yeah, it was a tough couple of months for me, but I'm happy to learn these kinds of lessons. But here's what I say. I never think that focusing and narrowing and zeroing in on a niche means that fewer people are going to sign up. I never think that. And you know what? You've heard that before. You've heard that before from every business podcast you've ever listened to. They'll tell you generalists don't succeed, specialists succeed. People are seeking specialist help. The more specialized you are, the more people flock to you. Generalists flounder. Yeah, we can help everybody, but nobody wants to work with a person who can help everybody. You've already heard this. You don't need to hear it from me. So no, narrowing your niche does not cost you business unless you narrow or move or pivot into a niche that you don't like or that you can't help. So just know thyself. Know who you can help. Know what your expertise is. Have a sense of that audience. You might have a little bit of a failed experiment like I did for the last year where it's like, oh, I don't like working with menopausal women. Yikes, I'm out. That's okay. You know, I think that's kind of cool. I have an adventurous spirit. So for me, it's like, what's the worst that could happen? I tried this out and it either succeeds or flops. But either way, then I know. So anyhow, no, focusing your niche does not cost you business. I only need 100 clients a year. 100 clients a year and I have a very nice income. I'm making the living I want to make. I'm making the impact I want to make. 100 people per year. There are millions and hundreds of millions of women who could use my help. They could be perimenopausal or not, because I'm out of that space. It's like, you got stubborn weight, I can help you. I have a certain way I do it. Maybe you like my approach, maybe you don't. Maybe you want to go work with a macro coach who's going to macro track you. I won't do that. We figure it out, right? If you, me, and all of us are in the women's weight loss space, maybe you're not, by the way, I'm just using this as a proxy. There's more than enough clients for all of us. We're good to go. So I only need 100 every year. In fact, I could get by with 50, quite honestly. Still be really happy. I actually counted this year. I've had 62 one-on-one clients. It's October. That's pretty good. I'm pretty cool with that. That was nice. Pretty good. So we don't need all the clients. I need 50 to 70 to 100 maybe a year. So as you've heard many times before, focusing in on specialty messaging positions you as a sought-after expert, which people will pay for. And you can have a really comfortable living, narrowing your niche. So no, it doesn't limit you, it expands you. Sherry's third question was, do you think most coaches should be nimble and adjust their niche as their life phase changes? And I kind of addressed that already. I think you could if it feels right to you. Sorry for that non-answer. But I do think health coaches do tend to do this. They just tend to slightly alter their focus as maybe their stage of life changes, or they learn something new, or their research changes, or they have clinical experience working with people. We are going to change. We are going to change. Prepare to change. No matter where you are in your coaching journey, you're going to change your program, your perspective, your point of view. Here's an example. When I first came out of nutrition school, I was very convinced of a few things. I was convinced that everybody needed to eliminate dairy. I was convinced that artificial sweeteners were neurotoxins and poisonous and going to kill people. And I was convinced that everybody needed a B complex vitamin supplement or something like that. So I had a lot of strongly held convictions when I came out of nutrition school, because that's what they taught me in nutrition school. It was a holistic nutrition school. So they're like, oh my gosh, aspartame's so naughty, what have you. So when I first started working with people, for example, I eliminated dairy from everybody's diets. I was like, the first thing we're going to do is this massive elimination approach. Everybody's going to eliminate dairy and a few other things, right up the gate. And I think that was all right at the time. People started noticing that they maybe had a little, if they did or didn't have a sensitivity to dairy, we were soon uncovering that and other sensitivities. And I think there's something to be said about clearing the decks and getting inflammatory things out of the diet. But now I don't do that. There's no elimination approach in my protocol anymore. I took it away, or severely backburnered it as a side project. If my clients want to try something just as an experiment, well, let's try a dairy elimination or a caffeine elimination. Any kind of elimination is worth trying if you're on a health journey. So I kind of put it on the sort of nice to have list. It's no longer mandatory. I don't have an elimination protocol anymore. I just grew out of it because, quite honestly, the research seemed to change on dairy a little bit. And then I had a ton of clinical experience working with clients who either did or didn't have better or worse outcomes based on whether or not they eliminated dairy. So I could actually look at my own data and say, oh, you know what? This isn't really much of a dial mover. I'm going to just pluck that out of the protocol. So you are going to change. Whatever that kind of health coach you are right now, whatever the convictions you strongly hold, be prepared for the fact that you might not strongly hold them in 5 years. Be open to that, by the way. Be open to that. Be open to having your mind changed, confronting your biases, Be open to that, because I think that's a predictor of a health coach with longevity in the industry is flexibility, nimbleness, openness to change. Paying attention not only to your own business, but to the greater health and wellness industry writ large. How is it changing? How do I need to change? We go back to the very top of this conversation. How do I utilize AI rather than just fighting against it? It's so interesting because how many times have I had conversations with health coaches who didn't want to use social media? And I'll say, well, you know what? You're going to have to, because it's here to stay. Well, now it's AI. I know you don't like it, but it's here to stay. You can try to carve a niche outside of it, but you're just going to be kind of on an island. What if instead you learn to shift and grow and be nimble and open? This is a growth mindset. You have to have a growth mindset because you're going to ask your clients to have a growth mindset. You're going to ask your clients to change their beliefs and convictions about how they should eat and move and live. So you better show up into your coaching business with a growth mindset. I just think this is a quality that is of tremendous value to, frankly, anybody in any entrepreneurial space. But because the health and wellness industry is very fraught and very it has a lot of built-in contradictions and confusion and overwhelm. A lot of your clients are going to come to you feeling overwhelmed. So it's sort of you have to be this reasonable sort of anchor. And so I think there's an element of being the kind of person who's open to growth. So your clients can see that in you and see that you're willing to have your mind changed and you're not rigidly stuck in your perspective. You're paying attention. You're paying attention on the behalves of your clients and your future clients. So I guess when I contemplate the future of health coaching and health coaches, I imagine this very robust, nimble, open-minded, growth-oriented army of health, honestly, zealots who are shifting and moving and flexing and contracting in response to the industry that we're in. So yeah, I do think coaches should be nimble and adjust their niche as life goes on. Not necessarily as their life phase changes, but as time goes on and the industry changes, and maybe as your own personal health scenario or stage of life changes. Yeah, I think nimbleness is an amazing quality to harness in yourself. If you want to have a real chance at longevity in this industry, you got to roll with it because it's moving quickly. We've got robots tracking our macros now, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't slowing down. So heck yes, embrace nimbleness. You will change your perspective. You will change your program, your methodology, your beliefs will change. And that's amazing. That's how we're going to help people. This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.